They're there. They're populating now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I will bring Jay into.
And Matt and Nick will probably show up here in a minute too. And Debbie Lund.
Yeah, Nick, Matt, Debbie J.
Matt, Jay, and Nick. Okay.
Not sure who, but we're picking up like a TV or something in the background.
Probably Noah or Jay. Probably Noah.
Not me.
Not me.
I'm in my office.
No, I just see that Mark joined over as an attendee, and I'm totally comfortable with having him in the session. John, are you also okay with that?
I'm good.
Yes, I'm fine with it.
Okay. Let me see if I can switch back then. There we go. And with that, Chair, we can start the meeting. I got everybody into the meeting now. Sorry, a little bit slow on this one.
Okay, with that, I will call the City of Port Orchard's Finance Committee of December 21st to order. And no, unfortunately, I had to run in here and I'm doing this off my iPad, so I hope you're going to be able to provide all of the documents. So with that, let's go ahead and get started with the sales tax report.
Perfect. So hopefully the sales tax is showing on your screens as well as I'm sharing here.
It is.
Good. So the big change, I guess, from last month. Well, first, let me start off by saying another good month in sales tax. We collected $598,000 when compared to 2020. $549,000. It's a $50,000 more than 2020. So year about 8.89% for the month. Total actuals, again, it's hovering right about that 19 to 20% above 2020 through November comparison. And you can see here in the far right, we are about 1.4% over our budgeted amount. So this was the big percentage we talked about last month that would change based on the budget adjustments that the council approved last month. And so you can see we're still above budget, but now that margin is much, much smaller to just 1.4%, which is great, given that we have 1 month still to go in collections.
It is, they are good numbers. It's just, it's flattening a bit. And so we need to watch.
Much better than negative.
It totally is.
Yep. And REIT, very similar, very positive still. Again, these do reflect all the budget adjustments. So now we have collected 87% of our biennial budget. But you can see that show up right here in 2021, where our new budget now is $1.55 million. For the month of November, we collected $96,000, which is $11,000 more than the previous November month for 2020. So overall, again, real positive. Actuals have grown compared to 2020 by nearly 99%. And we're about 48% higher than our budgeted amount. So we're doing really well on REIT as well.
I don't know if you or Nick or Rob, maybe you know, I read in a newspaper recently where there was a developer came in and bought a big tract of
Sinclair Ridge. It's in Bremerton, but they pay traffic impact fees to us.
okay, so we'll get the traffic impact, but not the rate.
Anything else? Yeah.
Yeah.
No REIT or sewer water connections or anything like that. But it was it a SEPA condition that they pay? Because Bremerton doesn't have those traffic impact fees.
Yeah, we asked the city of Bremerton to mitigate traffic impacts, and they're paying both a share of the roundabout that McCormick is building. And so our development agreement with McCormick has us providing money from this developer to McCormick to pay down our credit that we extended them. And then they're also paying a separate mitigation fee that can be used for everything from paying down Tremont debt to Bethel. I think Sydney and Pottery are on the list, and the Anderson Hill roundabout, Old Clifton improvements. So not every traffic impact fee project in the city, but most of them that Bremerton project can help contribute to.
What was the dollar? What was the dollar
18
amount on that, Nick?
I believe it's $1,800 per house approximately, and it's 360 homes.
So $648,000.
Yes, and they're also required to install a turn lane at the intersect or at the SR16 off ramp there at Tremont. So there'll be a left turn lane and a right turn lane to help ease congestion of people trying to get out to that area.
So getting on to eastbound 16 or heading towards Tacoma.
Heading from Tacoma towards Bremerton, there will be a right hand drop lane to get onto Tremont going east, and a left hand turn lane for Old Clifton West.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, looks good. Any questions?
No? Okay. We'll move on here then. I did send out the monthly budget report on Monday, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask. But I'm going to turn our attention right to the ending fund balance for the month, just to reflect and report on that. Again, all healthy fund balances when we look at the cash and investment statement for all our funds. In particular, general fund continues to be real strong. And I guess we'll monitor that as we move into 2022 with the various budget amendments that we did make and spending planned. A lot of that is transfers intended to go to the street fund for operations and maintenance. So there is some money that will come out of that pot to the street fund, which is also healthy, that roughly nearly $2 million as we approach the end of the year. So that's a good, strong sign there where the two operating funds are doing very well.
No, we funded all of our transfers for stabilization.
We did, well, we have budgeted for them all. I have not made them all. I have one more. So we make the transfers on a monthly basis. So one more month, and we'll have our 2021 transfers all made. And then next year, again, we'll make the transfers on a monthly basis for 2022.
So Fund 001, we're almost to the end of the year. We only make some transfers out of that to those stabilization funds.
Yeah, 001 should have fully made its transfers. Yeah, so that one's fully funded for 2021. And then we got some smaller dollars in 2022.
Okay.
So again, all healthy funds, all real good stories in all our capital funds and operating funds as we move in 2022, spurred by good sales tax revenues, good planning fees, revenues, department directors managing their budget and expenses. So all positive news as we close out this year.
Good deal.
So with that, I just wanted to talk through some of the budget ordinance that was on the agenda tonight. If you saw in the amendments, there's a couple changes we're doing. One is a cleanup title change. We have a long range planner position in there, which we have now changed the title to senior planner. Same pay, same compensation. So we're just moving that FTE from the outdated title of long range planner to the now senior planner position. So we'll have two FTEs there. So no financial change, just a cleanup of the title. The other is in the mid-biennial review process, we approved the hiring of an additional accounting 2. And as we're getting ready to go and advertise, we are looking to downgrade that position to an accounting 1, and that position will cover the front desk, take care of cashiering, take care of customer service. When we evaluate it, we think that it's more in the accounting 1 ballpark. So we will advertise for both an accounting 2 position and an accounting 1, because now currently we have a vacant accounting 2 position. And now with the additional, we'll have an accounting 1 vacant. So it's not really an addition. It's actually a reduction in total costs if we fill an accounting 1 position rather than an accounting 2.
No, on the senior planner, I understand what we're doing is shuffling people. Will this shuffle eliminate that prior position that we're vacating?
Essentially, yeah.
So
Yeah.
it'll be deleted from the org chart essentially.
Yes. Yeah, it's an outdated title. Just like when we did this, I believe a month ago, we had associate planner positions. Again, we changed the title to appropriately reflect the senior planner positions. So now we kind of get our titles in line with what DCD would like to have as their department structure and in line with the market.
Okay.
The third piece of that proposal or the budget amendment is a cost of living adjustment for non-represented employees at 4%, as well as adopting, once the council reviews and approves the union agreements, and getting those reflected in the budget adjustment table. So those are the 4 elements of the budget adjustment coming forward. And I just want to make sure that the finance committee was comfortable with all 4 of those pieces.
I'm fine. Sean, do you have any?
No, I'm totally fine too. I just, good job everyone on all those union agreements, getting those done before the end of the year. From a council perspective, provided some kind of callers for you guys to work within, and you went and got it done. And so I think it's great. And from where I stand, I really don't need any sort of executive session tonight on that subject, because you guys fulfilled it within the parameters that was set forth. But that's just me. I don't know what you think, John or Jay.
It is it's a bargaining session, but yeah, it's similar to
A
it,
bargaining session. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But it's your guys' call.
Yeah, I'm fine with it as well. It's, as you say, Sean, it was pretty much within the parameters we set and approved. So,
Yep.
Yeah, my only take on it is when I keep hats off to the city and to the negotiators, because reading some stuff in the background, I think that it's fair, but it's definitely in the middle and not the higher ranges, which I've seen some other folks doing right now.
I mean, Debbie did all the hard work on this, her and Sophia, and I think that her white papers spelled that out pretty well, but it'll be your guys' call when we get together with the other council members, whether they want to have that labor session or not. And we'll take it from there. But we got a 4-year deals, which is
Huge.
also
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And we can let the council know that we discussed this tonight at our finance committee meeting.
Okay, so we can move on then. The next topic is involving personnel, and I have the mayor to talk about that.
okay. So the first one, got a couple here, one in DCD, and then I want to talk a little bit about police recruitment. So as you know, DCD is struggling, our code enforcement officer in particular, with all the homelessness stuff she's dealing with. When she took that position, it was envisioned 20% of her job is addressing, and it's probably because of the rate of development we're having, it's consuming about 60% of her job, and she doesn't have 60% to give to it. And this is really some clerical work. So we have an employee in the court, and the court is approved for 2.5 FTEs. They have an FTE and a half. And Sharon in her management of the court is doing a very good job, only working people as much as she needs them, because the court isn't very busy right now. So we have an approved FTE, full-time FTE, and this person is only working half-time. So I'd like to work that person more hours paid out of Nick's operation. It's really both general fund dollars. It's just coming out of a different pot. I believe, and we'll confirm this, that I don't believe I even really need to take this to you guys, because I have budget authority to do it, but I do want to communicate it that what we're intending. And sometimes I'm wrong, so I'll have Debbie and Noah and Charlie talk to make sure that I'm correct in my thought, that we don't need to take this to council, but if we do, we'll bring it to you. And I would plan to bring it to you in January. It'll cost $42,000 for salaries and benefits. And this will need an MOU with the union to do this. But that's our intent to move forward with this, get some help over in DCD and work a valued employee who's would like more hours, a little more. So Jay?
Okay.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. You said we already had the authorization for the position. Moving at DCD, is there any increase in the position? Going from
Well,
the
so
clerk?
we would, this clerical work, a court clerk due to the union contract makes $24 an hour, I believe. And a DCD clerk would probably make a couple dollars an hour less, but
It's a
I'd have to
wash.
go. Yeah, it's pretty close. The wage is pretty close. The benefit package is similar, that we're going to give her the teams. Well, it's an AWSC plan, but Debbie's got an idea how she's going to structure the benefit package so that it's fair.
Yeah.
Just thought as it is an easy versus going through a recruitment process and the time that would take to get some help over to DCD as soon as we can.
I'd be interested to hear what Debbie has to say about it, because to me, I think you've already got the authority, but what do you think, Debbie?
Authority question is probably more one for Charlie to answer because I don't want to overstep. But the FTE number is definitely budgeted. It's just assigning it to a different department is the only kind of little wrinkle in there. But all general fund dollars, so it shouldn't be an issue from my perspective. I did talk to the union today. They are fully on board in supporting their halftime employee getting more hours, even though it's non-union work that they would be doing in Nick's shop. So we are good on that angle. I did schedule a meeting with Charlie for the first week in January. We just need to address the situation with the municipal code. Municipal code currently limits temporary employees to 6 months. And we anticipate we may need more than 6 months from this a special assignment. So I did schedule a meeting with Charlie to see if I'm reading the municipal code correctly. Worst case scenario, we may need to come to you with a little bit of a modification or perhaps a new classification, project employee, something along those lines that we can keep a little bit longer.
As far as I'm concerned, though, you've got the FTEs approved and you've got the budget already approved. It's within the mayor's prerogative to assign it however.
Yeah, and I like it too. I mean, just from a recruitment standpoint, right? This person's looking for more hours and could be at risk of leaving. And so we're filling a need and taking care of a team member. So I think it's a win-win.
Okay. I'll report back to the full council after we look at the code to make sure. I know we can do it for 6 months. This is whether we need to do something thereafter. So I'll keep you informed.
Okay.
Okay, the police recruitment. So hopefully we can get this done first week or two in January and get Nick some help. So police recruitment, I sent you a white paper that the chief did as far as showing what other departments in the county are doing, and the chief's idea to offer a bonus to someone that sends us, finds us a candidate, and a little different spin. And I'm supportive of it. Maybe it'll work. It'll heck of a lot less expensive than what the other agencies are doing. The bigger piece that's not in this memo is that, is it 5 officers right now we're down, chief? And three in the academy, three in training, some sort of form of training, correct?
Yeah, and we'll be down 6 for about a day.
Yeah,
So we did have an officer leave, but it'll be filled. So yes.
Yeah. So from a recruitment standpoint, we have 5 holes to fill. 2 are at the academy, 1's in field training. So we're recruiting for 2 more. And we know that we have 2 more officers retiring mid-year. And so when chief, with our civil service rules, now, chief, how many candidates do you get with one opening?
So with one opening, I get 5, and for every subsequent opening I have, I get an additional 3. Am I correct in that, Debbie?
You are correct.
So one, we want to increase the pool size that he has, because when he goes through those candidates, many times, while they might have the highest score, they aren't a candidate that we would consider for employment. And so we're spinning our wheels a little bit in our process. And then secondly, we know these retirements are coming. And if we're lucky, we might have 3 to 6 months worth of overlap, or likely none. So we have savings right now from these unfilled positions. And even if we had 6 months of overlap, I'm thinking it'll be a wash on what we've saved this past year in salaries. So I'd like to add 2 FTEs with no budget number to them to basically hire up to beyond our complement to account for these retirements. And then also that gives the chief a bigger pool to work with as he's trying to fill and do this recruiting. Does that make sense? And if I didn't explain it well enough, you're welcome to ask Chief or Debbie further questions.
Sean?
No, I was just going to say, thank you for bringing this solution forward. I think it's very creative. I think it's a way that we can finally, hopefully get out ahead of this. I think it's a great idea. I love the incentive piece on current team members recruiting. I've seen that work at other organizations. So I just appreciate you guys being proactive and bringing an opportunity for us to get back to full force. So I'm 1,000% in support.
Thank you.
Jay?
I can only go 100%, unlike Sean, but I'm behind it, all the way. I think, Chief, we talked about how can we do things differently in our recruitment, even in some cases getting additional people into the academy, even though we may not have an opening for them. And I still would like to look at that one in a different way. So I'm full in favor.
So the plan, go ahead, Sean.
Oh, I'm just one more comment too, that things that sometimes I don't think we talk about too, is look how much our city is continuing to grow, right? So even the current FTE, it's probably a wrong number. And so I know you guys are talking about that moving forward, but just to make sure that we're keeping up with the growth, right? Because it adds to the volume of calls. And I know public safety is a priority for all of us. So again, thank you.
I appreciate that. And the mayor and I spoke today, and so we're gonna work on a data-driven in-house study that hopefully within 6 to 8 months we'll be able to bring you some real numbers and some real analysis.
Yeah, the end of your proposal as it is right now is that you'd like to add 2 FTEs so that you can bring them on board now, get them somewhat trained up to the extent you can. And then those 2 will fill the vacancies that are created with the 2 retirements, correct?
Yes.
Yes. And, in a perfect world, if I was to hire someone tomorrow that is brand new, that is about 49 weeks from the time we say go to when they're on their own. So when we're looking at a 6-month gap, even before we have these 2 additional retirements, at least it gives us a little bit more lead time than a year.
Right. Now, if you were to do a lateral, then how quickly can you put a lateral on the street?
16 weeks.
16.
18, I'm sorry. So there's 2 weeks of in-service where they come in and they do all the HR stuff and they get policies and a little bit of, we have to, I can't take the training that they did in use of force and some other, sorry, that's my dog. I can't take the use of force training and some of the other tool training that they've had from their previous agency. We have to do that in-house. And then it's 16 weeks in the field. We are working with our FTO supervisor. There are some options to shorten that if those in-state laterals are successful in our program. We may be able to shorten that down to 12 weeks, but that's going to be dependent on the applicant.
Yeah, but either way, you're going to get a jump on the recruitment process before these folks retire.
Yes.
Then in theory, those 2 additional FTEs go away at retirement unless you come back with something that suggests you need 2 more long-term.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
And I would hope as we we're looking at 2022 right now, and we're identifying 2. So let's surge this up by 2. And I think we should be doing this on an annual basis. What does, at the end of 2022, how many people do we think are going to, we're confident are going to retire? And let's start getting out in front of this on an annual basis and hiring up in that capacity.
So basically, you look at always having somebody in the pipeline.
If
for
there's a need,
replacement,
yes.
And I think that's an
If we can.
outstanding idea.
Yeah.
I think they generally refer to that as succession planning, but yes, I think that's a good idea if you can anticipate or at least read the tea leaves as to when you think people are going to be retiring and stay ahead of that curve. Absolutely.
We've been very, very fortunate with the culture that we have downstairs. They want to take care of each other. No one is surprising us by saying I'm 30 days out.
Yeah.
For the most part, everybody is telling us a year out when they anticipate retirement.
Good.
Good deal. Sounds like a plan.
Okay, so we'll bring back something in January to modify the FTE count to accommodate this.
Okay.
Thank
Like
you.
it's agreeable for the committee.
Okay,
Okay.
what's
Anything?
next, Noah?
So next you had on there is the community center. You had an update.
Okay, I do have an update on that. I had 2 other things. I already mentioned this to Sean. These are just quick items. We have a cleanup ordinance tonight. We didn't intend to apply the CPI to the water in the most recent credit agreement that we did for McCormick. And when we update our water and sewer connection fees, we add the CPI to it. And if we've if we've recently increased those charges, then the CPI doesn't apply. Well, we applied it in the chart. So Charlie has prepared a cleanup ordinance for this evening, and Sean has agreed to add it to the agenda and be the sponsor of that. Did I get that correctly, Noah?
Yeah, that's correct. And Mayor got correct that when we brought the water credit ordinance forward last month at the November 23rd meeting, inadvertently, the water, 2 rates in the water CFC table were adjusted by the CFC. So we are reducing those rates back to where they should have been in this cleanup ordinance.
And then something that was emergent today, I just want to keep you in the loop. Noah and I were talking about, and I just caught Matt in the hallway at the end of the day, Noah, on this. We're having IBM creates software called MOS 360. It was on your iPads, remember? We use it on our cell phones to track, that enables us to kill a device if it got stolen or lost, and allows us to track for public records aspect. It's having a conflict with the new operating systems on the new smartphones, and any smartphone that we have to reinstall software on, it's having a glitch. So we're going to take our smartphones and make them, in the short run, and make them dumb phones and not allow any email, take the software off of it. And our risk would be in the email platform. So they're just going to be able to use, in the short run, cell calls and text messages on their cell phones. And so that our network isn't compromised if something was to happen with these phones. Long-term, Matt's not confident that MOS 360 doesn't seem interested in fixing this. So hopefully we're gonna be able to fix it. If not, we might have to look for a new software vendor to provide this service. So we're gonna have to look at the terms of the contract, whether there's a breach in the contract or not. So more to come on that. The community center. So we had a meeting. As you know, we closed a couple weeks ago on the bank property, and we had a meeting with Rice Fergus Miller here this last week. And we were previously in schematic design, and now we're moving on to design development. So now that we know what the look and the feel of the building is, now we got to look at it from, actually design it, and from an engineering standpoint, and so on and so forth. So in looking at the contract that we have with the PFD, Rice Fergus Miller has identified a few things that would not be covered under the PFD agreement, and I think they're things you're going to want. And one is a building envelope consultant. And if we would have had one of those if we would have used one when we designed City Hall, we wouldn't be having all the water intrusion elements. Designers are great on picking materials, but there's consultants out there that specialize in making the work in the real world out there and confirm that in your environment and the compatibility in the environment and that, you know, your windows to your siding and so on and so forth, that to have somebody review the materials that are selected for your shell. And that's $25,000. We don't have to do it, but in the scope of a $20 million building, it's probably money well spent, because we don't want to have a situation like the county public works building where the windows weren't installed right or selected right. And we have so many of those similar challenges currently to City Hall. The next one is a green design certification. We've got indication from the council that you'd like a green building. The PFD didn't provide funding for that. If we're going to pursue commerce funds, and I intend to, we need to at least have a LEED silver designation. And there's a cost to that process to get your certification, and it's estimated at $75,000. We have money in the PFD funding for our shoreline permits, but if we get appealed or they become, you know, a not normal process, we may need to augment those funds for that appeal process. We hope not to get appealed, but it's not anything that we're in control of. There's also a seawall in front of the Kitsap building. We intend to reuse it until there's a shoreline restoration project. The seawall, the bank, prior to the bank, there was a grocery store there. We know that. And the grocery store's foundation was left, and the bank built on top of that foundation. So the seawall is part of that old foundation, and we don't know how it was tied into the bank building was tied into it. So we need to have, I'm getting an estimate for it to have an engineer get in the crawl space of the bank building and to identify whether or not, and when we take the bank building down, we'd like to just pour a slab there behind the building, or behind the seawall, and use it for an observation air type area, along the shoreline like it is right now. But we need to make sure that if we tear the bank building down, that the first November storm that comes along isn't going to topple the wall and put our building in jeopardy. So I'm looking for a cost on that. Cost estimates are being developed, and I think everybody's aware of the rapid rise in material costs. And right now they're using for the assumptions 6% a year, projecting out to our construction date. I think it's best that we use an aggressive number versus a conservative number. So I'm comfortable with them building that number. They're also building 20% in for design contingencies. At current, and while we don't have a complete design, we have the concepts. We're looking at right now $3 to $5 million in cost increase on the building at this point, and we'll have firmer numbers as we continue this process. Right now, normally wood and a structure like this, we were planning for a steel frame with like these there are architectural like glulam members to support the second floor on top of it. With the cost, steel right now is exceptionally expensive. We've been looking at today, if we went with the wood structure, $3 million more, as I indicated. But if we went with the steel structure, which we would prefer, it's $5 million. So RFM is planning on refining these numbers and giving a presentation to city council at the end of the first quarter, when they've got better numbers, and to talk about the difference between a wood frame structure or a steel frame structure. Because about the first quarter, we kind of need to make a decision which direction we're going to go in the design. So just trying to keep you informed, more information to come. And there's a presentation planned for the first quarter, end of first quarter in January.
I'm assuming that regardless of the structure material, whether it be steel or wood, we're gonna meet the required seismic issues.
Absolutely, we'd have to.
So wood would be just as good.
It's the aesthetics. You're gonna get and I'm not the expert in this, so if we do a wood structure, we have to have more posts and members in it and more joists across it.
Right.
We get a cleaner appearance. So it's planned for these members to be exposed from in the library space when you look up at it. And if we go to a wood structure and we have traditional floor joists like a house, we're going to have a sheetrock ceiling versus an open, a more open and taller ceiling in the building. So it's more about aesthetics and of the building. So we just want to have conversation, and if in the perfect world, steel will come back in price. Traditionally, these two construction methods have been similar in cost, but because in today's world and steel prices, they're out of whack.
Well, like I said, my only issue would be, obviously aesthetics would be great, but the basic structure is to make sure that, and I don't know, I'm not an expert, but if it takes more wood to build a wood structure up to the seismic standards, you could get by with less wood if you did it with steel. You know, those are my concerns. I just want to make sure that we know that the building is going to be there after the big one.
We hope so, regardless of how it's built.
Well, City Hall is steel, and we did that purpose. So,
yes. Okay, other questions about that? I was just kind of an overview, just trying to keep you informed of where we're at.
great.
That's all I've got. Should I share this with the full council, or is it diving too deep tonight?
I think you're diving too deep.
Yeah, I would wait
Okay.
till we have
first-
more information.
Yep, all right. I have limited information. I just wanted to share the little bit of information I had, so.
Great.
Okay,
All right.
don't have anything else.
Noah, do you have anything more?
No, that was the last item on the agenda.
Okay. Anybody have anything for the good of the order?
Just have a quick question more, since I join one of these about every 6 months. My question is our reserve funds. I know that we've been not backfilling, but making sure that, our reserves were adequately funded, and we did that this year. Were we looking at expanding those reserves at some point down the road, or just, as our budget increases? Just curiosity.
Well, we set the policy to function as a percentage of our expenses.
Right.
So as we increase expenses, the automatic trigger, those stabilization counts will require a budget adjustment. So I think if you want to revisit the percentages, that's a different policy discussion that you can have. But I think we set some fairly decent fiscally responsible policy ranges, and we have certain tiers we're trying to achieve as we have funds available to do so. And we try to balance that against our capital needs and our operating needs as well.
Right.
So in next biennial budget process, we'll probably talk about it again, look at it again, make sure we're still comfortable with those ranges and the percentages, and are we achieving all of the goals that the city has as holistically.
So
Just a
that's a
question.
big grow. So will those.
Reserves, right. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Awesome.
Anything? Okay, I would adjourn this meeting and look forward to seeing you all in 45 minutes?
Yes. And everybody's got a remark, glowing remark for Brett Beck. I shared you with what I intend to say, and I'm sorry it got so long, but it's what
Did you leave anything for us to say?
I'm
No,
sure you
not-
have.
After,
Everybody's gonna have
reading
a
it.
pet story.
one part that you missed was when she was a little girl growing up. We converted that, so.
I didn't talk about her banking career or grandchildren.
I don't think you had a PowerPoint with it either, so.
I
we're
don't
good.
have a PowerPoint, and Fred's not going to comment on the colors.
All right, well,
Can I see you
good
guys in a
night.
bit?
See you soon.
See ya.
Bye.